Welcome to Cute Defense Versus. This is a 4v4 PvP tower defense game with some RNG and a map that changes a little bit each game to help keep it interesting. Everybody starts off with the builder with all the same abilities and perks that is used to create all of the buildings that you will have in the game. The goal is to wall up and survive longer than your opponents, and when the last builder on an enemy team or your team dies, the other team is victorious. The cool thing about Cute Defense is that you control what the enemy has to defend, as they do for you. You're defending versus Cutelings, which come in many different variations that you actually get to decide. You can send a boss Cuteling if you want, or change the regular ones into fire, and there's so many more variations to choose from. The game itself is a lot of fun and actually pretty addicting. It can be played casually or competitively. And I'm here to give you some basic information for new players so you can get to defending those Cutelings. Hi, I'm Tahoko, and this is my Cute Defense Versus guide for complete beginners. In this video, I want to show you a couple of things that you should probably know before you start playing. The first one I want to go over is picking a base spot. Currently there's 3 different maps you can play on. They're the original map, the Bloodlands map, and the tournament map. But for this video, we're only going to go over the original map because it is the most popular, and more often than not, any lobby you join will be using this map. Everyone spawns here in the middle, and the first thing to do is to look around for a good base. You are looking for a place that has as few entrances and as much room as possible. Experienced players will know where to look pretty much instantly, but you should take your time and just try to find somewhere that looks good for you. The map is mirrored for both teams, so nobody's got a major advantage over the other team. There are variations to the map each time you play, and this is an unmovable rock that pretty much makes any spot that it's in unbuildable. Highly recommend that you avoid this. The other variation is a beneficial one. You may see some of these grass walls with a couple flowers on top. These are randomly placed each time and can create wonderful base locations when otherwise the base would be very tough to play in. Now I'm going to show you the same spot in 2 different games just so you can see how they can be a little bit different. So on the left we've got a pretty good spot. There's only 2 entrances and a decent amount of room to get a good mix of walls, towers, econ buildings, and support buildings. On the right we've got the exact same thing but only 1 entrance. I call this pretty much a god spot. With this sort of base, you only need to defend 1 entrance. So instead of defending the bottom entrance, like in the left picture, you can put more towers or econ or support buildings instead. It will be highly contested, but since the map is mirrored, you do have 2 chances to get it. And with this base, we see that the rock from the first game on the left is now missing from the second game here on the right. Now that we've shown some of the differences, I'll show you 4 bases that you should look for and where they are on the map. Remember that everything is mirrored, so if the base in the top right is like this, so is the base in the bottom right. The only difference is that the mirrored spot might have an unmovable rock. The first base is in the top right corner and the bottom right corner. This base can be between 1 and 3 openings, depending on the RNG of the flower wall to spawn. It's a nice compact base with room on the side for some econ buildings and anti-rain towers, both of which I'll go over more later. The next 2 bases are right next to each other in the top middle and mirrored in the bottom middle. These bases can also have between 1 and 3 entrances. The flower wall in the middle doesn't always spawn, so I would only recommend building here if you have somebody on the other side, so you only have to defend 2 entrances instead of 3. They're pretty much the same base, except the right side is a little bit bigger. This does give you a bit more room to build, but it also means that some of your towers can't defend both entrances as easily. The last base is really a place you want to build with multiple people in it. But if this spot has the flower wall right here in the bottom left, it can be done solo. I would only build here if it's your only option though, as the size of it can be a bit overwhelming, and it is located to the left of the 2 spots that we previously showed, also in the top left and the bottom left of the map. Now that we've gone over the map and what spot's a good spot to pick, let's go over how building works and some of the towers, walls, support buildings, and eco buildings, and a basic idea of where to put them. We're going to be doing this in my favorite place to base, the small little corner base, and we will do it with none of the flower walls, so it is a 3 entrance base. I'm doing it this way because you should be able to adjust it a bit if there is one of the flower walls there, and without it the base will be much less contested by the other players, giving you a much higher chance of getting it. First, let's go over how building actually works in the game. The bottom row is where all the buildings will be. On the left we have our basic wall and basic towers. They start with 12 basic walls and 6 basic towers, and as the game goes on you'll get more of these, but this is plenty for the start. The three to the right are your randomized buildings, your main buildings, and you always start with these three, which is the town hall, which is used to upgrade certain towers and walls, and a place for your miners to bring gold, which we'll go over more later. The next is a gold farm, which increases your gold you get every 10 seconds. And the final one is a miner, which can be used to mine gold or help repair towers or walls. As a beginner or even an experienced player, you should probably always start with the town hall. Okay, let's start with the town hall, and we want it as out of the way as possible so that you have more room to start building defenses in the base. And now you can see how the three in the bottom right changed. Well, this is going to happen every time you build something from these three, which means you can only choose one, then everything else gets re-rolled in something new. If you don't like any of the towers or buildings you have, you can hit the reroll button to pay money to reroll the slots. However, each time you do, the cost does go up 5 gold. It's not permanent, as the gold quickly goes back down to 10 for a reroll, but if you do it too much, the cost will go way up and it'll take a long time for it to get back to 10. Each building in this game has a rarity that correlates directly to its cost. As you can see, the more you build of something, the cost goes up. This is only for buildings that you've built before, though. So let's say I build a guard tower, which is a common building. Only the price of future guard towers will be more expensive. Not all common buildings together. If I want to build my first barrel wall, it's not going to be more expensive because of the guard tower I built before. Now that we've gone over the RNG element, the building cost, and the rarity, let's start creating our base. I'm just going to use basic walls to simulate where our eventual late game walls will go, and put pictures and descriptions of some of the good options that you can use. As you can see, this base has 3 different sized openings. The top is a 4x4 opening, the left is a 2x2 opening, and the bottom is also a 2x2 opening, but it's a little different. Regardless of the size of the opening, we want to have one outer wall and our main walls behind it. The top spot will have 2 2x2 walls in front, and either 3 2x2 walls behind it, or 2 3x3 walls behind it. As you play, you'll learn to decide what you like better. The left will have 1 2x2 in front, and 2 2x2s behind it. And the bottom will be either 1 2x2 in front, and either 1 2x2 behind it, or 3x3 behind it. Since it would take too long to make a perfect base for this video, here's a list of all the walls in the game. Let's go over some of the walls I like to use, but because this game does have some RNG, you might not be able to roll exactly what you want. That being said, the outer wall should always be either an enchanted wall or a life wall. I picked these two because they don't really require healing early game. The enchanted wall is great because it's uncommon and only 35 gold. It doesn't have the most health, but it does have a large shield that regenerates out of combat. And the life wall has a self-healing effect and is always regenerating HP whenever it's not full. For the main line of defense, you've got a couple of options. For the 2x2 spots, you should aim for one of these 3 walls. The first is a crystal wall, which can be upgraded to 3 different types of walls. One of them giving it a slowing feature for whatever attacks it, a tower wall that can be used as a single target attack, or a tower wall that has an AoE attack. Next is the resonance wall. It's got a knockback ability which stuns and sends the cutelings flying after it takes so many attacks, which is nice because during that stun and flying time, you will have some extra time to heal your wall. And finally, the life wall. It can be used in both spots, as its self-healing ability is quite nice early and late game. For the 3x3 wall, you really only have one option, the big wall. It can be upgraded after upgrading your town hall into having a 10% chance to dodge any attack. There are more walls to choose from, but as a new player, I recommend only using these for now. Okay, into towers. Since our walls are all complete, we can start to judge where the best place to put towers is. As you can see, when you're placing a tower, it does show the range. There's some short range towers and some long range towers, but to be efficient, you want to get the tower to hit as many entrances as possible. As a new player, I think the most important thing is to have a good knowledge of where you want your walls and good knowledge of spacing. So here's a list of all the towers in the descriptions. You're going to learn where you like to place which type of tower as you play. Now, I will go over 2 special towers that are very important due to a mechanic not many new players know about. Most of the time, cutelings will spawn outside your base and try to get past your walls. However, there is a mechanic called cuteling rain, which causes 9 cutelings to fall in random locations, including inside your base. Because of this, we're looking for 2 towers, the Electro Tower and the Gold Tower. Both are very high single target DPS, and the goal is to kill the raining cutelings before they hit the ground and start attacking the inside of your base. We put them out of range of our walls so they aren't attacking anything when the rain comes, and because the gold tower uses your gold to attack and the electro tower has a slow recharging mana that it uses to attack. The last thing we're going to go over is economy, income, and sending cubelings. And let's start with how to earn some gold. Everybody gets a little bit of money from killing cutelings, but the person with the last hit gets more. This means if no cutelings are coming to your base, you're not making as much money. Another way to earn gold is through buildings. There's two that can accomplish this. The first is the gold farm, which increases your income by 5 for each one that you have down. Your income is the money that you get every 10 seconds, and you can actually check the top right to see your income and your teammates' income. This is actually another reason why I like this base. It can be kind of hard to choose where to put the farms in other bases, but here we've got a nice little alcove to fit as many as we can find. The second building is a gold mine. It has 500 gold that can be mined 5 at a time, but it requires you to have a town hall to bring the gold back to and a miner to mine it. If you don't have a miner, you can hire one from your town hall, right click it to make it auto spawn, and your builder can actually also mine and even does a little bit faster, but you're taking away time from building other buildings. Because you only start with 250 gold, you don't really want to start building a bunch of defense. I recommend don't build anything over 35 gold until you get some mines or farms to help supplement their cost. The final and most important way to earn gold is by increasing your income through sending cutelings, which is also how you defeat your enemies. If you never send any cutelings, they will never spawn on your opponent's side of the map. To get to the send menu, select your builder and click the picture of a cuteling or press F. It might look a little overwhelming at first, but it's actually really simple. The first one is how you make cute spawners. Without them, no cutelings will spawn. Each time you build one, it increases your income by 3. And the cost of the spawner actually goes up by 50 each time, starting with 100 and then going all the way to 3400 for the final spawner. And you can see how many spawners your team and their team have right here above the menu. Next up is actually sending the cutelings. You may have seen someone tell you to press FW, and this is what they're referring to. Each time you send cutelings, your income goes up by 1 for each spawner on your enemy side. So if you have 2 spawners and you send cutelings, your income goes up by 2. If you have 5 spawners, your income goes up by 5, and so on. You should wait until your team has at least 3 spawners to start sending some cutelings. We wait until 3 because this is when it's become the most gold efficient. Much like how the spawners go up in cost, the cost of sending the cutelings goes up with each new spawner. Which makes sense because the more spawners you have, the more cutelings come out. Length in between waves or rounds is 1 minute, and the cooldown for sending is 25 seconds, which means you should aim for 2 sets of cutelings for each round. If you're wondering when you should start doing spawners versus sending, you should wait until you have enough money to comfortably send 1, preferably 2, sets of cutelings and be able to afford the next spawner. So I may have forgotten to talk about healing during the building section, so here it is. There are 3 ways to heal walls. The first is with your miners or your builder. If you've got no mines available or the game is late enough that your income is so high that you don't need any more mines, you can use any leftover miners to start repairing some walls. They don't heal all that much alone, but get enough of them together and it will be very hard for the enemies to get through. The second is with a moonwell. When it's turned on, it has an automatic single target heal, so whenever a wall starts to lose health in the moonwell's range, it will automatically start to heal. But because it is single target, it can only heal one thing at a time. So if you have 2 walls taking damage, the moonwell will have to choose between the lowest HP one. When you first build the moonwell, it starts with 0 mana and stores up to 100, and if you leave it on, the moonwell won't use any mana unless it's actively healing a wall. The final way to heal is with a Fountain of Health. It has a larger range than the moonwell, more mana, and has an AoE heal. When you turn it on, it will heal everything that is taking damage all at once. The trade-off is you have to manually turn it on when you want it to heal, and if you leave it on and there's nothing to heal, it will still use its mana. There are 2 ways to increase mana. The first is called an energy aura, and it just gets a flat 30% passive boost to mana regeneration. And the second is called an energy charger, and it can fully fill up mana when the fountain or moonwell hits 0 mana. The charger does start at 0 mana and has to gain 1,000 of its own before it can transfer, which can take a while, so try to build them early. Alright friends, that's it for me, and I'll leave you with what a finished base in the main spot we went over might look like. There's a lot more to this game I didn't go over, but the video is already kind of too long. If you want more or have suggestions from me, let me know and I'll go over some parts more in depth or make an intermediate level video.